I have been blacklisted by Fox, CNN, ABC, CBS, and the other channels. Fox has become exactly like ABC, CBS, and NBC and CNN. They are no different, make no mistake about it. It's just a different hydra, a different head of the same hydra. The English understand what free speech is. Apparently Fox News does not. They'd rather have a prostitute on or a drug addict than a talk show host who is fighting to clear his name. Terrorists have launched an attack on a Pakistani luxury hotel. Can anyone listening to this show explain to me why this big story of a new terrorist attack has been covered up by the American media? I can tell you why. Because it is an answer to Obama's pacifism. I warned you that terrorists do not respond to peace. Oh, I wish they did. I wish to God that the world had changed over the last 50 years or the last 5 years. But nothing has changed. The only thing terrorists understand is terror. They do not respond to peace. They only respond to war. And now we have a president who is a college teacher, who is using a textbook method of pacifism that has been tried over and over again. He got his answer. North Korea has found 2 journalists from America guilty and given them 12-year sentences. That was one answer to Obama's peace offering. Today was the other. A bomb went off in a luxury hotel in Pakistan. Don't you understand the danger you are in? Can't you see finally what I have been saying to you and how important it really is? If you care to comment on this, we are learning that the wounded, which is now 65, that was 2 hours ago. It's gone up, but we can't get any late reports on this because the blackout continues. The breaking news on this story is impossible to find. And what astonishes me is that I can't even find it on the Drudge Report. Drudge ran it as a banner for about 15 minutes today and then took it off his website entirely. So I said to myself, maybe it's not a true story. Why is the story off there? I go to AP News. I have to search the entire AP website. I can't find the bombing in Pakistan. I can't find it. I know that they're not covering here. First Gitmo inmate in U.S., not guilty. Obama pitches pay as you go. Judge lets Chrysler sever ties with dealers. Here it is. 4 more bodies found from Air France disaster and buried down at the bottom because it makes Obama look like the pacifist fool that he is. Bomb at luxury hotel in Pakistan kills X. Now, they don't say terrorism, you'll notice in the Associated Press. They say bomb, as though the bomb went off by spontaneous combustion. It was a bomb at a luxury hotel. They won't say radical Islam. They won't say Al-Qaeda. They won't say Islamofascism. There is no face to the enemy. It's just a bomb at a luxury hotel in Pakistan kills at least 11, according to the so-called Associated Press, written by Riaz Khan, one of their so-called men in Havana. The suicide bombers, they won't even call them suicide bombers. They said they killed 11 and wounded 70. I'm sure the numbers will go way up. But the fact of the matter is this was an answer to Obama's peace offering to Al-Qaeda. 1-800-449-8255. You're listening to The Savage Nation, the last and most important independent voice in the American media, where I can get on the British media without asking, while in the American media, I am persona non grata. I do not exist. So-called conservative websites. None of them are covering it. Why? Tell me why it's not being covered. Why is the media avoiding the terrorist bomb in Pakistan? This is very, very strange. Albany, New York. John, you're up on the Savage Nation.
Michael, I just wanted to agree with you. The United States right now is being run by Hillary Clinton, and they're acting like Chamberlain did back in the 1940s with Hitler.
Yes, of course. I've covered that for over several years now, which is Chamberlain comes back and says, I have a note in my hand from Chancellor Hitler, or President Hitler, I don't know what he called him, who assures me that he will not invade any other countries. And, of course, Hitler then went ahead and invaded the next country. Chamberlain was a pacifist and socialist. Chamberlain at least apologized for his naivete shortly thereafter. You know that. But Obama has not yet come to understand the danger he is putting this country in with his genuflecting to the terrorists. You understand that?
Absolutely.
Thank you. 1-800-449-8255 is the phone number. You're listening to the last great independent radio show in the United States of America.
I have a quick comment about it's kind of more of a theory of why I think the media isn't covering your story. And I'm not talking about ABC and CBS and NBC and those guys, but the so-called, conservative guys. And I think it's probably because if they cover you, there are some people that have not heard of you. And I think if those guys turn in and they start listening to your show, that's going to take away ratings from those guys. And those guys don't really care about anything
I understand. That's right. When you look at Fox News and they have the wall banger, who is basically a kind of a clueless, nice guy who follows Rush Limbaugh, got lucky. And without Rush Limbaugh, without the Fox News network to promote him, he'd be out of business. He would have been out of business a long time ago. So, okay, I understand there's commercial interests involved, but I don't even want to waste any more time on that. Here's an interesting question. I know all of what you say is true, that how come the media in England has been running after me now for 2 weeks, begging me to go on television, go on radio, publish letters. I'll ask you, which media is more controlled, the American media, which won't cover this story, or the British media, which has been covering the story repeatedly? Tell me which media is more controlled, the English media or the American media? The answer is the American media is far more controlled than any media in the Western world. People don't understand what they're living in here. You keep looking for the enemy over there. You keep expecting the Obama administration to come up with the fairness doctrine. What you don't know is that the fairness doctrine has already occurred in this country. It's occurred from Fox News blacking out Michael Savage and every other story that interferes with their commercial advantage. It's not that they don't want to run the story because they hate me necessarily. Sure, O'Reilly hates me because I've called him various names. Sure, Wallbanger hates me because he's an uneducated dolt who couldn't hold a cup of water to me. I understand all of that. But that's not the reason. Sure, the hemorrhoid is a moron. I understand all of that, but that's not the reason. The reason is because they are competitive with me on radio. Two or three of them are still on the radio. The third one, Corned Beef lost his radio show because he couldn't do it well. Now there's Wallbanger and Hemorrhoid. They don't want me on there because it'll make them look like the dunces they are. So what I'm saying to you is that for commercial reasons and because there's so much media conglomeration in the hands of Rupert Murdoch, that is why you have more control over the media here or less control of the media than you do in England. There is too much a conglomeration of the media in this country, too few hands controlling too many outlets. I'll give you another example. My book, Banned in Britain, which I'm going to self-publish, was taken by someone who begged me to take it to New York. I said, don't be stupid. I said, the book's worth $4 million. They won't touch it. I was right. They won't touch it. They'll take a book by someone who's going to write a book about that Real Housewives of New York, a degenerate hooker, a drug addict, a terrorist. But none of the little men and women in New York publishing will touch this book. It's a born moneymaker. The book would make millions of dollars. But the cowardly Lilliputians in New York publishing won't touch it. And that includes the publishing company owned by Rupert Murdoch. He owns Fox News. He owns a publishing company. He owns the Weekly Standard. He owns Fox Searchlight movies. Don't you understand what it means? We've been warning you for years to not let too many media entities wind up in too few hands. Don't you see the effect it has? If you have someone who can compete with your puppets, you make sure that person is not seen nor heard. That's what it was all about. 1-800-449-8255, michaelsavage.com.
And it's not a benign totalitarianism. It's more like an insidious, surreptitious one with big ears and a smiling face, rather than benign. The second point...
Well, so you're saying that Obama is an overt totalitarian ruler?
If I can see it, I don't know how many other people can see it.
Do you know how many Americans think he's a nice guy? Do you know how many people are fooled by this man? Tens of millions. You walk the streets of New York, 90% of the fools in Manhattan think that he's a good ruler who's saving the economy.